Hey, it's late. Let's do it. Folks, mañana no más. It's Kurt Von Onen here. We're coming live to you again. I said I would go live every day in the month of June. I am somehow making this happen. I'm kind of proud of myself. It's going to work out. This feels great. Today, I'm calling it Take the Hits and Celebrate the Wins. Take the hits. Let me turn on the light for you. Take the hits and celebrate the wins. It is 9:30 p.m. here in California. And basically just kind of wrapping up a day, and my day starts at like 5:15, 5:30. So these last few days have been power packed, and I'm not gonna lie, I started to talk about it the other day. I was talking to you guys about foundations and then how to recognize a yellow flag and a red flag, and we talked about this yesterday with when you're interacting with a customer, how do you know the difference between a green light, right? So a green light is this customer's awesome, the relationship's awesome, the work is awesome, they're well prepared, all the things. Like, so the relationship's good, the work is good, the assets are good, everything is good. So from an agency perspective, right, I'm saying the assets are good, the pictures are good, the content is good, the text is great. So, when someone comes to you as a customer and says they have all that, and then you start the project and you realize it's not, right? So yellow flag, red flag. At what point do you toss that flag, right? So we had that conversation yesterday, and folks, I just want to say, sometimes you got to take the hits, and that makes it more fun to celebrate the wins, and you need to celebrate the wins. So on one hand, I have a really awesome project that I worked on for months and months and months and months and months. It launched, it went live. As an agency looking at the project, I think to myself, there's still a couple of gaps here. There's still a couple of things that need to be tightened up. There's still a couple of things in the user interface that could be a little cleaner. So from an agency perspective and the scope of work for this job, a lot of those things fall on the client's shoulders. So I want to be clear, like when we talk in agency terms, there's a scope of work, and some stuff you agree to do and some stuff the client agrees to do. And then you have a date to launch the project. And in some cases, the project will launch and there'll be some gaps. There'll be some things that from an agency perspective, you're like, man, I wish that was tighter. But it's the client's responsibility, right? That's in their scope of work to provide. So we launched this thing, and this is a celebrate the wins moment. There was a couple of stumbling blocks, a couple of speed bumps. There was a couple of things along the way, but from an agency perspective, I kept the client informed. I kept the other vendors working. I kept everybody on point. From a project manager perspective, I knew what each cog of the wheel was doing at a specific time. And if anyone had a question, I could answer it readily. And more importantly, I was proactively giving them information before they came up with questions. So things worked out really, really well. Now, the client is like over the moon. I sent them, the email updates, and here's this and here's that, and here's your code and your credentials, and there's all these things. I sent them all of that. But I went ahead and called them. And I said, hey, I sent you all the stuff. Want to make sure you have it. I said, but I really want to see how you're doing, how you're feeling. This is a big deal. This is a new website. You have, I can say it because I didn't mention the name of the company, right? But this website loaded with 2,200 users in it, right? So it's a new website, 2,200 users. There's memberships, there's courses, there's automation. There's things in this website, and there's a fair amount of people in it. And so there was some angst. And so I wanted to make sure that the customer felt right. So this is part of that emotional intelligence that comes with running a successful agency. It's one thing to do the job. It's another thing to make the customer feel right about it. So talked to them on the phone, and man, they were thrilled. I could hear in their voice. They're excited. They're coming right through the phone line. It was like getting a big hug. It was really, really cool. So I said, hey, if you have any problems, fill out a support ticket, questions, comments, concerns, fill out a support ticket. That way the whole team can see it. There's full visibility. It's transparency. I'll be the one most likely answering your tickets. But, we'll work together and we'll figure out whatever problems you have over the next week. And then know that you have, concentrated service available for the next 30 days. So if you need guidance, if you need any kind of coaching, you're covered for the next 30 days. That's part of the agreement we had in the scope of work. And so, man, they're just so happy. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you got to take the hits and celebrate the wins. The hard part of this conversation is taking the hits. My yellow flag and my red flag turned into a nightmare. Almost 4 hours of emails. Just, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And I'm like, well, here's the email that you received on April 19th that lists this. Here's the email you got on June 4th that mentions this. Here's the email you got on June 18th that says this. Here's the email that you got. And it just goes through the whole thing, right? So it's like all these things you're saying that didn't happen or you didn't receive or you don't understand. Here's the deal. I cannot take responsibility. And I actually put this in writing. I said, I cannot allow myself to be liable or take responsibility for the things that you forget or lose. Period. Like, sometimes you have a customer that just doesn't have their act together. Sometimes it happens. So I'm in one of those moments where I got somebody that doesn't have their act together, and it's kind of like turned into this really nightmarish situation. And then this customer was like, keep in mind, the website's done. So like the work is done. This is a 3-month project. The website's done. I'm like, here's your files. It's done. It's done. And she goes, well, I just want my money back. No. This isn't like buying a pair of shoes. You didn't buy a commodity that you didn't use and you want to return it. Having a website built is not a savings account. It's not money that you put aside and go get back later. It's money that you spent. You spent it on labor. The labor's been done. Now, thank goodness I save all of my emails. I save my Zoom transcripts. So, for 2.5 months, we got nothing but happy Zooms, and I can't believe the work you're doing. And thanks for helping me with this. Thanks for doing the extra. Thanks for this. Thanks for that. Thanks for the other. It's always so nice to work with you. But when I talked about the yellow flags and the red flags, I indicated that it was becoming obvious that they were running out of funds. Things they wanted to do with the project, they started pulling back on. Like, we're not going to send to this many emails. We're going to try and send to this many instead. Well, now we're not going to send to emails at all. Now we're just going to do maybe some Facebook ads. Well, instead of Facebook ads, we're just going to try and do some free social media placement. Well, instead of paying someone to do my social media placement, I just want to put out the website and see who finds it. Right? And so these are yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, right? Like, you're out of money. And so when this customer ran out of money, they said, well, forget it. I just want my money back. Well, you spent that money. You're the proud new owner of a website. Congratulations. And it hurts because as a man of faith, I want to have compassion. I want to be nice to people. I try to work with people to the best of my abilities until they insult my character or lie. I really don't do well with that. And then I have to, you want to overcome, you want to provide, you want to add value to people. There's all these things that you tell yourself that you want to do. And again, I beat myself up because I think, well, as a man of faith, I want to rise above and I want to treat people the way I would want to be treated. And I try these things, but at a certain point, yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. There's a point where you just have to be willing to utter the words no. No. That's not going to happen. No, we're not going to do that. Here's your files. I'm not giving you your money back. People wonder why I have a policy. My policy is when you work with Mañana No Mas, you pay up front. I meet my deadlines, and I don't go over budget. If I go over time, I'll take the loss because if I misjudge the time, that's my fault, right? So if there's scope creep or you change the scope of the job, we will renegotiate the deadline and the money. But if I commit to the deadline and the money and the job, and for some reason it doesn't work out, I still get it done. I maintain the budget and I maintain the timeline, period. So when someone comes along and says, I don't believe that that's what happened in my case, or that's not the way this job went, or that's not, it's like, no, let's look at the facts. Let's look at these emails. Let's look at these Zoom calls. Let's take a look at the original scope of work. Let's take a look at what you've asked for in addition. Okay, so this is where we're at now, right? And so you have to be able, as an agency owner, to go, no. And here's the deal. I'm not just responsible for me. I'm responsible for my family. I'm responsible for the house. I'm responsible for people that work with me. We've got a team here at Mañana No Mas. It's not the biggest team in the world, but we've got a team that we knock a lot of things out together. And there comes a point in business, and I teach this when I train people in the fixed operations world, in automotive and motorcycle. There's a point where it's okay to lose the customer. It's okay, and that's it. Sometimes you got to fire a customer. So sometimes you got to take the hits. Here's the ironic part. As much as it pains me to do it, and as much as it'll pain you to do it, because I'm trying to inspire you through my pain, I'm hoping that you learn from my mistakes. I probably said yes to this person longer than I should have. I should have dismissed them long ago with the yellow flag, yellow flag, yellow flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, right? I probably should have said, hey, wait a minute, something's a bubble off here. Are you going to be able to finish this project? What are we doing here? Instead, I plowed through, I finished the project, I spent the $3,000, and now it's a headache, right? So the sooner you recognize a red flag and the sooner you take the hit, the sooner you cut the cord, the sooner you make the decision to say no, as painful as it is, as much as you want to avoid the conflict, as much as you don't want to do it, the sooner you do it, the better it is. And here's what happens. It opens up a pathway for another client to come in that's a winner. Here's a perfect example. I literally put out a proposal today for an exciting project out of Oregon. I don't want to give too much of it away, right? Because it's not my job yet. But they have a really cool project. They have a instructor-led course that they give live, and they want to transfer that to more of a virtual presentation. They have an audience. They have previous customers. They have a successful track record. They have verifiable sales and income, which means they have budget. And I gave them a killer proposal with 3 different options in it. I said, I prefer to give people a good, better, best option to choose from. So I'm giving you these 3 options. Let me know which one you choose. I'd be happy to serve you. And when I look at what that job will be able to do for me, as opposed to the headache I had to say no to, it's night and day. It's night and day. And so as we go about our walk, our day, I think it's really, really important that we take the hits when we need to. Take the hits, but celebrate the wins and be really thankful for those. My last thing, closing out for like the last minute of this, because I want to end this in 15 minutes or less. The other thing I'm thinking of is think about the cause, the root cause for the yellow flag, red flag, red flag, red flag thing. I really think it stems from the economy. In her case, it's she's dealing in real estate. So she's got, maybe she's got issues with the real estate market up, real estate market down, lack of people wanting to get into the lending environment with rising interest rates and things like that. And so I have to ask myself, and I would ask you, if you're watching this in the replay and you've been seeing people act weird in the business arena, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a solopreneur, if you run a small business, what is it that you think is what's going to drive people over the next 6 months to a year? Well, and I'll use the word because he used it today on the news with Bidenomics, right? So they're talking about Bidenomics. And when I think of Bidenomics, I think it's a smear, but apparently they think it's a cool word. But I look at the inflation, I look at the interest rates, I look at the cost of a gallon of milk in California. I was at a farmer's market this weekend. They wanted $8 for a dozen eggs and $30 for a flat of 30 eggs. One, the math doesn't make sense. Think about what I just said. $8 for a dozen or $30 for 30. So I pay more to get more? That's weird. Anyway, forget that. If everything is super expensive and the revenue goes down, it seems to affect people's ability to leverage ethics in business. And that makes me really nervous considering the value that I really want to bring to entrepreneurs in the market. You know, as an agency, I'm looking at how can I build really affordable, duplicable WordPress examples of e-learning and membership sites that'll help an author promote his book, that'll help a speaker, you know, promote his course and his live speaking tour, that'll help, you know, mom and pop at a bicycle shop. Like, I'm thinking of those things and the people that I want to help and add value to. But if the economy is going to be so bad that those people won't have the ability to interact with me in an ethical manner because they don't have the budget to, like if the circumstances cause them to act unnaturally, well, then that's something that I really don't want to deal with. And so then I have to think to myself, am I going to be one of these agencies that just chases after, you know, big companies and organizations and looks for the bigger contracts? Because to be honest with you, I got a pretty big nut here to pay for, right? So I got to make sure that I get the work that I'm qualified to do and can pay the bills with. But then I'm not sure that I'm really affecting my mission of adding value to as many people as I can. So think about that. Muster over that. If you got this far in this message, I would love to see your comments on that one topic. Folks, I'm going to hit this up with the whole thanks for watching banner, and I will see you tomorrow.